Hello and welcome to another one of my Eaglemoss sale grabs, which is the USS Enterprise NCC-1701-C. And this is an Enterprise that is not as well known as many of the other Enterprises you may be familiar with, as it showed up in, to my knowledge, exactly one episode, which was the rather lovely Yesterday's Enterprise. Because at the time of the filming, it was Yesterday's Enterprise, and it falls in a sort of strange void in Star Trek timeline history, because it falls between the original series and the original series films, I think, and the Next Generation starting. And we don't really have a lot of coverage from that particular era in Star Trek history. I think it's sometimes referred to as the Lost Years. So we came across this version of the Enterprise, which we've never seen on the big screen, in an episode where our Enterprise D is caught up near a temporal rift, which this Enterprise then comes through, and in coming through it, the Enterprise D's timeline shifts, and it becomes a timeline in which the Federation never made peace with the Klingon Empire, and in which the Klingon Empire is basically kicking the bottom of the Federation in a fairly convincing fashion. And it turns out that this Enterprise had a pivotal role to play in defending a Klingon outpost against a Romulan attack force, and in doing so it demonstrated to the Klingons that the Federation did have honour, because basically it was hopelessly outmatched. And so of course, they had to have this ship be pretty well modelled, and this is an Ambassador class starship. We do see them in the Next Generation, because obviously having got this one, I was sort of on the lookout for them in sort of random episodes that were coming up on Sci-Fi Channel. So let me get into this box now, and I'll chat a bit more about it as I go. So it's a sort of a bridging ship, I guess, between the Excelsior class Enterprise and the Galaxy class Enterprise, for obvious reasons. There's the rather nice little leaflet that comes in the box. So, as I say, we don't really see a lot of it. We only see it in this episode that I'm aware of. And we don't see that many other Ambassador classes either, which is kind of interesting, because I would have thought that they would have been a much bigger ship of the line, because the Enterprise ship is rarely unusual in the sense of it there not being lots of others of that type around. So here she is, and she's nice solid model as ever. So you can see that she is a sort of very, very wide nacelles, but the saucer section is sort of edging towards Galaxy. It's not. It looks to me, looking at the screen as I film this, it's not entirely circular. It's got a slight. Mind you, looking at it from above using the eyeball Mark 1, it is actually pretty circular. So it's kind of. And actually this area here is very sort of original series style. Well, it's movie era original series sort of bridge section. I think if you're familiar with it, you'll know what I mean by that. But obviously the nacelles are very, very different to anything really. They're not even Galaxy class. The coloration, that if you look at them profile wise, they're very Galaxy class. And if you look at the rear, you can see that sort of angling of them is quite close to Galaxy class, but it's a far more pronounced right angle hoik to them than is the case with the Galaxy class nacelles. And they're actually sort of nearly on the same level as the saucer section, which again is slightly different to the Galaxy classes, which I think are below it. He says from memory. So. It's and even the primary hull here looks very much like the sort of, there's the cutout at the back there, but it's far more pronounced than the Galaxy classes. So it is very much a sort of a blending of the old Constitution class approach and the Galaxy class approach to Federation ship design. And I'm assuming this was used, I can't recall whether or not it was used as a sort of a very standard kind of exploration type ship, because obviously, you know, they were rarely anything but from the Federation's point of view. Let me just get a stand set up. And it's a big sort of blue, very sort of blue glowy deflector dish that she's got there. It's a shame they don't get there's no sort of internal lights on it, but that isn't what Eaglemoss do in this particular range. Let me just set it down and I'll say set up. She's going to settle there. Okay. Well, I have to admit, when I first saw it on screen, I wasn't entirely sure if I liked it. I couldn't tell you exactly why not. I think because not knowing much about it initially, I didn't really appreciate sort of why it was there and what era it was from. So it looked a bit like a kit bash, because it looks like it's a love child of the Constitution and the Galaxy class. But of course it is. It should be in that sense because of its time setting, and you know, and it is a very, very pivotal ship, because obviously on the basis of this episode, had they not been there for this battle, the Klingon Federation alliance would never have happened, and things would have panned out very, very differently. So ironically, if I'd been the Borg, I probably would have tried to take them out rather than going all the way back to Earth and stopping first contact. But you know, that's a whole different ball game, obviously. So this is also the ship that an alternate Tasha Yar ends up being on, and that in turn had quite big implications for the timeline in our, if you like, our sort of normal quote unquote timeline as well. Even though she is, I guess, you know, something of a paradox as a result. But you know, that is the way of time travel in Star Trek sometimes. So there's the stand set up, and I would guess that she is going to be a saucer section sort of hold there. That's nice actually, because I find that the angle on some of these is a little bit too upright for my taste, if that makes sense. I mean, she's got a little bit of an upward tilt to her, but I think that's perfectly acceptable. So I'm just looking at the detailing, the sort of, you know, you can see what I assume are the escape pod hatches, various number of phaser strips. I'm just having a look around to see where I don't actually know where the impulse engines are. No, that's curious. I don't know where there might be just at the back there, but they're not coloured red. I was looking for red coloured impulse engines, but I don't know if you can see that. There's a little bit of sort of blue colouring just there. So I don't know whether those are supposed to be the impulse engines, but they're just not quite. But they're not actually red on this model for whatever reason. I don't know if they were red in the series version of it. So I suppose if I had a minor gripe, it would be that. I mean, you can see here that that presumably is the shuttle bay at the rear there, which is a classic Constitution class positioning for the shuttle bay. I was looking for it sort of up top, but I can't obviously see one that's up top, unless someone wants to correct me in the comments. But it's definitely grown on me over time as a ship design. I don't even know. I don't know if anyone's. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, the sort of X-Asterisk website and guys like that, I'm sure, will have looked at other. I think there was one in Data's day. I think it was the Zirkov. I think it was called. That dropped. Was it T'Pel off? But I can't think of many other times when we saw it being used in the sort of Excelsior style, where it was just kind of, you know, there in the background as a sort of filler ship. Maybe they used it at the Wolf 359 battle. Maybe there were some remnants of one there. But generally speaking, I don't think we see a great deal of them, and I would have expected to see more of them if they were, you know, a sort of an Enterprise level kind of ship, you know, because obviously they'd be fairly significant ships to be used by the Federation day to day, by Starfleet day to day. Yeah, so it's maybe, I don't know, maybe we'll see some in lower decks from time to time. I don't know, because you know they wouldn't be against such a use, I'm sure. But yeah, so it was an interesting ship from, you know, sort of the Lost Years kind of period, and quite happy to pick that up. I got this at half price as well. I was quite happy with Life when I got this one, because it was unusually there was a half price sale on, and this one was left in stock, and it was one of the larger enterprises that wanted to try and snag at some point. So yet again, Eaglemoss got me with a cunningly placed and timed sale, which I was able to take advantage of. So my next video will show you the it's not an XL. This is an XL, but the next one I'm going to show you in the next video will. Well, actually, no. Now I've got to be careful here, because I got shouted at from one of my last videos for saying that this was this type of ship is an XL, but actually, strictly speaking, it's classed as a special issue. To my mind, I think of these as XL because they're bigger than the average models. But apparently, this is a special issue on the basis of its magazine. So I will call it a special issue again on the video description, and I will leave it there. So I'll just give you another quick spin round, and then I shall have a look at my other special issue, which I got in the same offer. And it's always worth keeping an eye open for the offers, because you know they are many and frequent, of various flavours. But getting one of these half prices is an utter bargain, because normally the best you'll do is get a third off. So if you'll save yourself a few more quid if you can get one half price, as I did this time round. So hope that's been of some use to you, and I will see you for the next one. Cheers.